Hi everyone, I just wanted to create a little video here about the assignment, the clinical assessment. So I just wanted to walk you through a little bit about how that works and where you go to find it. So first of all, there's a couple different links. If you're in the weekly modules, sometimes the weekly modules will end or they have a little link to the assignment itself as they're coming up due. But you can just click on it by clicking assessments, and then you'll see here clinical assessment. So the first thing that I would encourage people to open up and look at is this link right here, clinical assessment. When you click on it and open it up, what you're going to see is the instructions. I'm going to briefly discuss it, but I still think that it's important if you haven't looked at it to look at it yourself. But it's worth 10% of your final mark. And I know it says, and so one of the things it's going to ask you to do is to use the two tools. And these are two of many tools that I would use when I do clinical assessments with people. And I use clinical assessments for lots of different reasons. One of them is if somebody is going to residential treatment center, a provincially funded one, it's mandated that they have completed the residential or the tools, the ADAT tools assessment. But I also use them for people. Just recently I had somebody come through who was curious as to whether or not their substance use was causing a problem in their life. And so one of the things we did is we pulled out the tools, we used them, we walked through them, and some of the tools will show me a little bit of things. We're not using all of them, we're going to use two specific ones. The drug history questionnaire, which just really looks at somebody's substance use, what it looks like currently, and then the next one, the other one we're going to use is the adverse consequences, and that's going to look at is there any negative consequences that have ever happened in your lifetime, and then also comparing that to in the last 90 days. So you're going to complete the assessments, and it asks you to write up a report, and there's specific kind of things that it's looking for you to elaborate on in your report, and you can find them here. Really what it's asking you to summarize what your findings were, how the process was for you based on the assessment, any interventions, treatments, changes, education, prevention, any of that stuff that's recommended. I mean, I think most people all of us can benefit from prevention education, even if we don't have an issue. What I would also suggest is that you try to find somebody at the very least that has a couple of drinks here or there, smokes cigarettes, any other substance use moderately. It'll help with the assignment. If you don't have anybody like that in your life, please let me know via email and I will give you a case study. It's not as robust and you don't get to use the skills in the same way, but I know that's the case for some of you. For most of us, we could probably find somebody in our lives who even occasionally drinks. And again, always feel free to email me any questions that you have. So that's here. You can find the instructions to do the assignment. The next thing you're going to find here is these are the two actual assessments themselves. So the first one I would go with is the drug history questionnaire. I would ask that first. That way you get a sense of what somebody's substance use looks like. And as you see here, if I can open this up. I'm not going to do it that way because it won't show it the same. But what you can see here is it asks the questions, and then it asks you to put in clinical comments. So I would type in comments here. If you're saying yes or no, I would just put in a few clinical comments. No, person's never used, or yes, here's what their pattern or use looks like. There's a little coding down here that says how long C code. You know what? You can just use it in days. Like how long is the last use? 7 days ago. I would just use that. The coding I use because treatment centers understand that, and when I send away to treatment. But you know what? For sake of ease, how long since their last use? Just how many days ago was it? If you use the coding, that's fine too, but you don't have to. Number of days used in the last 90. So if somebody drinks once a week, that's 12 days in the last 90. Twice a week is 24. 3 times is 36. You get the idea. And just a rough estimate, as roughly as they can estimate with that. So you'll see different drugs here. There's 2 pages. Your start date and end date, that's for like the 90-day period. So obviously the start date or the end date is the day that you're asking them, and then the start date is just going back 90 days from that. So what you're going to do is you're going to fill that out, and you're going to ask some questions about their drug use and or other substances. And so you're going to put all those comments in there. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but again, if you have any questions specifically to that one, please feel free to email me. And lastly, what we have here is the adverse consequences. So this is negative things that have happened. Again, it's got a little comment section. I ask that you use it because that way I can mark you as being able to use the assessment properly. What you'll see here is you've got different categories. So with this first one, you're looking at physical health problems because of substance use. Obviously, they're self-identified or other people are concerned. This even includes, it could include hangovers or, broken bones or sprained ankles from drinking. And then it could also include other medical treatments that needed to happen. And you get the point if medical treatment's needed here, if healthcare professionals warn them, or if people have, or other people, they've been identified concerns or other people have. The next one here, again, fairly self-explanatory with that one. This one here, mood changes, personality changes, substance-related psychosis, or flashbacks when using. You've got two, minor or major. Minor is that it impairs my ability to function when I'm using the substance, or I'm drinking alcohol, or when I'm using the substance. Major is that even when it still affects me actually when I'm not using. So, I'm moody even when I'm not using, or I'm having personality changes even when I'm not using. So once the impairment's worn off, there's still an impairment on my daily functioning. That's what we look at with the more major ones. And again, you've got these two categories. We want to know ever in your lifetime or in the last 90 days. And if somebody answers, oh yeah, I've had 5 or more blackouts, and you can say, ever in your lifetime, and they say, oh yeah, 5 or more, or oh no, whatever. So let's say they said, oh yeah, so then you click 5, and then you say, well, in the last 90 days, how many have you experienced? And that's, an easy way to get that kind of information, just comparing the two. Problems in relationships, so has drugs or alcohol ever been an issue for friendships, family? Again, self-explanatory. Physically or emotionally abusive when using, work or school problems, legal problems, and then alcohol, spending too much, and again, associated with actually significant loss for the major. I think, again, it's fairly self-explanatory, but what I'm looking for is that you use the actually comment section. What's a little bit challenging is that sometimes, I think with this one specifically, it's a little harder to get the X in the box. Some people here in class, they might be a little more tech savvy with this stuff than I am. I've been told if you transfer it into word art, you can do some things that are creative. One of the things I think that's easy to do, highlight the number, actually use this highlight tool, and then bam, it's done that way. That's one way you can do it, that is for sake of ease. If you can find a creative way to get an X in that box, I don't know, I just messed that up, so I'm going to undo that. But you might find another creative way to do that, and that's up to you. But if you need to note it somehow. In this one, I think it's easy to do that. I will go back into the drug history questionnaire because it's similar issues, I believe, arise. This one is a little harder to get it. You could space it over and like exit that way. Again, you could. I don't think you can highlight the box here. But you can put an X over top of whatever one. If you're, again, more tech savvy or creative, as long as where you're putting it in and I can see it. If you're putting an X here in this middle, in the middle of the two, and I don't know what that means, it's going to be difficult for me. When it comes to these boxes, they're pretty easy. You can just like type in them away. So you can, put your number in. This person used 90 of 90 days. Yes, they used alcohol in the last 90 days. So when did they last use? They've used every day, so you could put 0 if they used that day, or 1 as in they used yesterday. Typical amounts. Let's say this person uses, and don't give me too big of a range, but I would say like, if I could do 5 to 6 a day kind of thing, or whatever it is. If somebody says to you, I don't know, just be patient with them and ask the question, well, give me your best estimate or give me your best guess. I think sometimes people do get impatient and with themselves and they're not sure. And so just work on, asking open-ended questions with people, letting people talk and share with themselves. Another thing that's important with this is that it is One of the things that are important is that you can um, use anonymous names. I don't want to know the person's name, so please use a pseudonym or a made-up name, and that's, I think, a really important piece. Um, there is a rubric, and I know who I was working, the Blackboard specialist I work with, he actually embedded the rubric right in the Dropbox for the assignment. So I believe, let's go to find that. So you'll see the rubric, you can view it here. So all I did was I went into weekly modules, and I went into any of the weeks that, 8, 9, 10, 11, any of the weeks that are kind of we're going through. And I did get notice, somebody mentioned to me that the module, it was brought up that module one had and so what's happened is I've just put the wrong date on here when I did this. And again, this should have been caught. Like I said, I worked with a Blackboard specialist, and him and I go through it and check all the dates. And so what we have here is it's actually the 21st for week 11. We see the 21st to 27th, and then it's out. So I'll actually go in and make sure I change that in the next couple of days. I think I can figure that out, and if I can't, I'll submit a request to him to change it. But what you see is if you click on any of the links in the next couple of weeks, so let's just click on, it's module 11 this week, let's click on that. You would see the clinical assessment link, click on that, and then you can view the rubric for the assignment. And it's all right there, and that's how I will be marking it out of. So if you have any questions about any of that, please feel free to email me. I hope that this is helpful, and yeah, great, and best of luck with everything.